215-666-6666. Arguably the single most evil taxi cab in the history of America.
Here's the dirty little secret. Trump almost brilliantly played this game very well. Cry me a river.
I just decided to wear green today.
Well, hello everybody. Bernie says hello. What we don't realize we got was a peek into the Trump win. After all these allegations of groping, raping, and I don't know, eating people alive at some point, who could keep up? You just knew Trump was doing stuff to women. Allegedly, every newspaper, mainstream media outlet, magazines, journalists, news, pundits, spin rooms said Clinton won that debate after all of those allegations surfaced. And what were the people saying? Wrong. Trump did, they were like, Trump did, hey boss, I think Trump did kind of good. I think he, yeah, he should have been done, but he wasn't done. So I was surprised that he wasn't done. Yeah, but they said Clinton won. So you know Clinton won the debate. Well, I'm not saying she didn't win the debate. Yeah, maybe she did win the debate. She talked about stuff, and she's good at the debating and stuff, but Trump should have been done. He's like a rapist and a child molester and a murderer. Well, I'm just saying everybody's saying she won. Yeah, but I'm kind of saying I don't think she really won. I thought you just said she won. Yeah, I guess she won the debate, but Trump didn't lose either. He did really well. He exceeded expectations. We should have known right then and there he was going to win that election. And now we got somebody who's friendly with Russia. Fuck. Trump may just be the best goddamn president we've had in quite a while. There are a lot of people that aren't crying that Hillary lost or that Trump won and secretly are glad that he did. The reason I called this video Cry Me a River is not to be insensitive, but it occurred to me on the night of the election, a very close friend of mine was deeply despondent to the point of crying in tears. These people are not crazy. My very close friend, who I affectionately call a Hillbutt, is a sane, rational, intelligent, sound person. So how do I align these deeply despondent people who were so emotionally distraught that Trump won the election with the scores of people who are unaffected, at least to the degree that we've seen with essentially Hillary supporters? I thought about this. Are these people not crying somehow insane, devoid of emotion?
No.
They're no more insane than these Hillary supporters. Jill Stein supporters have heard so many ridiculous narratives since Trump has won. One of them is that Bernie ruined this for Hillary. Okay, I'm sorry,
How dare you?
If Osama bin Laden was around today, enough with the 911.
It must be racism. It's always racism.
Enough already. We were focusing on her deplorables, and not one of them had to do with the fact that she was a woman. She has a history, decades of people disliking her. Rightly or wrongly, it's irrelevant. She entered into this campaign disliked. Any indication that Bernie somehow caused this dislike is just factually inaccurate. And to be barred from commenting on it is just absurd. Even the things newsworthy, Bernie was like, enough with the dumb emails. Because he wanted to comment on her deplorables as it related to her character and her judgment in a host of issue-based disagreements. To say that Bernie somehow tipped the hat in favor of Trump pre-assumes that the conservative right were listening to Bernie.
You know what? This guy makes a lot of sense, and yeah. Even though I completely disagree with everything this crazy socialist Jew is saying, I think he might be a communist Jew, quite frankly. Even though I disagree with everything he's saying, his views on Hillary has made me really lean towards Trump.
And they're not listening to anything that Hillary says or Bernie says. They disagree with them from an ideological divide. So if you're going to cry, cry for the right reasons. Cry because your candidate lost. We were there. We were there when we were telling you to put Bernie into play. We know that pain, being so inspired by someone who consistently was on the right side of history, ran for president for us, not for the throne of being the first socialist Jew, first old man, or the first guy with gray hair as president. There wasn't an adjective of gender or status or anything. He ran because he wanted to create a movement to change this country.
Oh, well, she's going to be the first woman president.
That's all I heard. You never said she wanted to change healthcare. You never said she really wanted to transform the racial divide. Oh, she talked about these things as it became convenient, but you never led with that. You always led with,
how dare these people beat up on poor Hillary? She's a defenseless woman.
She's a strong woman.
She's a defenseless woman. Stop picking on her.
Oh, she's capable. She's the most capable, accomplished, experienced woman politician in the history of the...
But oh my gosh. She's put up with so much. Oh my gosh.
I get it. She's a woman and she wants to be president. But what else she got? What is she here for? We know what Bernie's here for because we don't know a damn thing about him. I don't know how many kids he has because the only thing he talked about was we need to stop this. A man can't speak without being issues based. Hillary can't talk without...
You know what? We need to break the glass ceiling. To be stronger together.
Yeah, okay, I got it. But what do you want to do?
Get the Mexicans out because they're rapists.
At least you knew what he said, which was insane. What do you want, Hillary?
Well, I want to inspire women and people who are told that they can just be grabbed by their pussies, and people who are name-called and poor rosy old...
I get that, but I mean, what do you want to do?
I've been through a lot sometimes in my struggles with Bill.
We get it. You're victim of all this stuff. I feel for you, really. What do you want to do?
I want to carry on the legacy of President Obama, and...
Okay, I get it. All right, thank you. You got my vote. I am pro-woman. I'm a feminist. I would love to see the first woman president one day. Might as well be you. No! I'm a feminist. I'm pro-woman. I love women. Super intelligent. The vast majority of my friends are women. So many of my closest Bernie bros, the vast majority of them are women. So that person who inspires people because they are coincidentally women, that is worth waiting for. I didn't applaud Herman Cain, Ben Carson. Rent is too damn high. Marion Barry from DC. Colin Powell?
Like, you know what? Here's a black guy, might as well...
Nope. Obama? Pretty damn good politician here. Voting for somebody because they're the better candidate. Imagine that. There's two very distinct levels of perception going on here. And how do we explain that? And it's not partisan, it's not political. It's a little bit more basic of a premise. If you're a soldier and you go to war, your perception, your experience is going to be entirely different from the vast majority of us who aren't soldiers, who aren't veterans, who have never been on the front lines, who have never had to endure the atrocities of that war. So we may celebrate Veterans Day and respectfully, my father was a veteran, my late father, beloved. I have so much sympathy and so much respect for that. But that's much different than empathy. That's much different than having the firsthand knowledge of being at war. We can see the flags. We can pay the deepest respects on Memorial Day and Veterans Day. 911. We're human. But when we're watching these blips on the TV as mere observers, it's much different when the soldier is standing there and looking at his fallen brethren, having flashbacks and post-traumatic stress disorder from the things that he or she experienced firsthand. So when some image pops up on the television or some event, they're removed from it. There's a disconnect. The emotion isn't there because their emotion is elsewhere. It's real. It's vivid. It's based in memory, not presentation. This is why there's an entirely distinct group of people who are not sad and not despondent by the news that Donald Trump won the election. These were the Bernie bros, the Bernie sisters, people active in the revolution who supported Jill Stein, who voted for Jill Stein, who said that Bernie was always going to win if pitted against Donald Trump. And more importantly, not despondent that she lost. We were there in Philly while Hillary supporters were watching her coronation. We cried during the campaign. We're all cried out. There are two distinct groups. Those who wanted Donald Trump to lose, Hillary supporters, Bernie supporters, Jill Stein supporters, Harry Johnson supporters, are not one-to-one the same group that wanted Hillary to win and that cared that she lost. That's why I'm saying cry me a river, not out of disrespect, but out of the fact the country was completely split. There's a massive amount of people who elected Trump who do not care in the least that Hillary lost. Trump is not a king. Just because we coronated Queen Hillary doesn't mean we need to coronate King Trump. You still got a corrupt Congress doing the same old corrupt thing, the same old special interest groups running the country as always. The NRA is still the NRA. Trump's sons are still going to be shooting up animals in Africa. You already have Trump saying, you know what, the Obamacare thing, maybe not so bad. It's going to be great. Obamacare, maybe not so bad. Not going to break it up. Going to have the best minds looking at that. Maybe the wall doesn't need to be so big. Transgendered people, they should, they should go into the bathroom that they want to go into. The greatest trick the devil ever placed upon humanity is convincing them that he did not exist. I just love the usual suspects. Many ways Trump is Kaiser Soze. And after the election, we are now seeing him walk out of that police station. And suddenly, instead of where he walked on one side of the political aisle with one leg, he's now walking on both with two. The waffling, however you characterize it, waffle, flip-flop, changed her positions or had more information to formulate new opinions, however you want to frame that narrative. She has consistently changed her opinions throughout history, which gave at least the perception of political motives. Trump will change without shame his opinion in 24 hours. But it seemed to his supporters that he was getting new information in real time rather than for political benefit. And the fact that he would just change resonated with them. And he's already backtracked on so many of his initiatives. His rants about jailing Hillary Clinton after an investigation transformed into calling her a very strong and smart woman. Wrong. Which is in complete contrast to such a nasty woman. Even Obamacare, he's now talking about merely just reforming it, keeping the pre-existing condition, as well as young adults remaining on their parents' policies. His talks of waterboarding have been relegated to campaign talk. Instead of ripping up the Iran deal, his campaign is saying,
No, we're just going to take a look at it. Examine it.
his talk about taxing China,
China?
45%, has now been reframed as merely a negotiation tactic should China reach a certain threshold in the market. And of course, his infamous banning all Muslims from entering the country has been steadily reframed as merely banning people in countries who were compromised by terrorism. The famous building the wall has recently been reframed as merely a brilliant rallying cry and campaign move by somebody who knows how to win rather than something that he would pursue at all. We've had actors before, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse Ventura, Ronald Reagan. We don't know what type of president Trump is going to be, but he's not a king. He can't be a dictator. Obama was on the right side of history most of the time. With Trump in office, we're down with TPP. When? Because Obama was really for that. And you can deny climate change all you want.
Climate's still gonna be there.
You can't change that. People have very short-term memories, even Trump himself. That's why he's able to just bounce around from the best thing at will, just like Hillary Clinton. Call it waffling, but Bernie has just always been like, you know what? Gay people are people. Let's move on. And he never had to think about it, to wait for judgment, to listen to pundits or the media or correct himself. He understood at a cellular level that humans are humans. People will do and say anything to stay in office, even if they accidentally have to trip over the right thing. And it doesn't matter what hordes of rabid, racist, psycho people want. The worst parts of any group do not dictate how someone proceeds. We're not listening to them. They got him elected, but especially when you get into office, you stop listening to what the people want. He says we need to build that damn wall. He's not necessarily listening to single cell amoebas who supported him, demanding him do that wall.
Like, this costs money we don't got. This is ridiculous. Congress has denied this. This is not fiscally, responsible.
Whatever. Politics as usual. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. The difference between Trump and Clinton is that Trump doesn't care about the pivots, at least outwardly. Pivots, he explains them, and he moves on, and he doesn't care. Hillary makes shadowy her explanations and that political ease in a way that makes people go,
Oh, that's full of shit. She's hiding something to cover up.
how Trump handled the whole birther movement thing. He went out, got on, made a speech for a few seconds, and was like,
Obama is an American. Now let's move on. I got shit to do.
wrong. That was his tactic, and then he moved on. People like that. Whereas Hillary is,
I will look at this. I have again stated that my efforts within the birther movement were certainly not the wisest choice, and upon reflection,
people are like, here we go again. Every 2 weeks. Who the hell do we know? Trump could become the great communicator by not communicating greatly. One of the greatest Trojan horse stories. Modern day Kaiser Soze, disrupting the usual suspects in the political arena that no one saw coming. Hate the game, but don't hate the player. Chelsea Clinton is being groomed to run for Congress. Why? Tell me why she has any right to be coronated just because she's the princess to the queen that was coronated. People are going to say that's sexist.
oh no, she's not just a woman.
I'm not talking about a woman. I'm talking about a relation. Eric Trump being groomed for the presidency. Hints and whispers of Michelle Obama. Haven't we learned anything from Bush's, George Bush Sr., Jeb Bush, who received $1 billion to run because his last name was a Bush?
No, but he was governor.
But why was he a governor? Why was he placed on that path? Because of his family name. It's a dynasty. It's royalty. It's coronation. We are living in a nation where kings and queens exist. Now that we have Trump, we don't need his sons, Chelsea, Malia, Sasha. Where does it end? Hillary Clinton was the wife of Bill Clinton. He went through his political career, and by default, Hillary Clinton rose through that. We are coronating people, coronating wealth, coronating royalty by name.
We lost this one. but we'll get in with Chelsea.
There's no need for third parties if the DNC fundamentally changed. But until they fundamentally change, there is no need for the DNC. Cry me a river. Media presentation of this innate sadness with celebrities crying is skewed. Hillary supporters were very despondent. Celebrities, Seth Meyers choking up. Miley Cyrus had a video that went viral. Chelsea Handler crying and saying it felt almost sexist that Donald Trump won. Now, I have a little bit of a problem with that. There's no way to put this other than bluntly. That remains and has always been a bullshit argument. That Bernie bros were sexist. There's all of this misogyny. Makes no sense. The single most sexist presentation throughout this election has been people on the Hillary support side uttering that other people were sexist, because the only reason that they were saying other people were sexist is because Hillary is a woman. And so anything said about her was put under the banner of sexism, diminishing the very concept of sexism. Bernie bros, Jill Stein supporters, and Gary Johnson supporters, quite frankly, don't give a shit that Hillary was a woman. The only people who cared that Hillary was a woman were Hillary supporters. That's what they always led with.
How do I tell my daughter that a woman lost? Maybe one day we'll have a woman president.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The only group talking about women were Hillary supporters. And that's not an embellishment. How can a group support Jill Stein, who is coincidentally a woman, be sexist? The very concept of this argument is not only absurd, but it's disingenuous. Another intentional act coming from these left-wing, Hillary-supporting, DNC-fueled people. This media machine to create a separation based on something that did not exist. It's like anyone who comments to me is a racist because
I'm black.
No, it's because people think what I'm saying is bullshit. People disagree with me. Yes, racism exists when they intentionally are identifying or commenting on things that I say in disagreement because me as a black man is speaking them. It's absurd. We didn't hate Debbie Wasserman because she was a woman. We hated her because she was colluding with the Hillary camp and happened to be the DNC chair. We don't hate Donna Brazile because she's a woman or because she's black. Nothing to do with sexism, nothing to do with racism. It's because she colluded with the Hillary campaign while she was the, and remains, interim DNC chair. You know who we don't hate? Tulsi Gabbard, who coincidentally is a woman, but was also someone who had so much self-respect and regard for the process of fairness in the DNC, fancy that she resigned as vice chair of the DNC when they were colluding, trying to limit the debates, etc. Not conspiracy, all documented. We love Tulsi Gabbard. And after Bernie departed with all of his sexism and misogyny, who did many flock to? Of course, Jill Stein. How many women, girls, females, people who were not boys supported Bernie, supported Jill Stein, coincidentally? The cold hard fact is that the majority of white women, coincidentally, voted for Trump. Not Gary Johnson, not Jill Stein, not Hillary Clinton. That means at least one thing. They were not sheep voting for a woman because she was a woman. The single most sexist thing one could do. It's equivalent to, I voted for Obama, not because he was black. He was the better candidate who was coincidentally black. But of course, there were many who flocked to him because he was black. The same thing happened here. To vote for a person, a human being, because they happen to be a woman is sexist. And we've heard this constantly.
The first woman president. The first woman president. The first woman president.
I don't vote with my vagina.
Trump won because the DNC is far and beyond worse than the GOP. Let me say that again. The DNC is far worse than the GOP. The GOP is just a bunch of privileged, angry people, corporate, same old, self-interest. That can be used to describe the DNC as well. The difference is the GOP is fueled by a non-inclusive ideology. They never needed to entertain the collusion to further a specific candidate because they never had a specific candidate. They weren't pushing for Trump. They were pushing against Trump very differently within the DNC. Pushing for Hillary, they were pushing against Bernie Sanders. The failure of the DNC to identify that Bernie's revolution was the best thoughtful strategy against Trump's counter-revolution is why Trump won this election. Bernie was on fire. We felt the burn, and so was Trump with his supporters. Instead of fighting fire with fire, we fought fire with water, pushing that narrative that furthered the DNC's power grab, ignoring the revolution and the inspiration behind Bernie that would have unquestionably beaten Trump. I don't have any problem with Trump supporters voting for their candidate of choice. Hillary supporters have a big problem with Jill Stein supporters voting for their candidate of choice. Fancy that. Trump supporters fueled him to win. The DNC killed all of the supporters by removing Bernie effectively, and they lost interest. The lowest voter turnout in 20 years. Bernie himself is quoted as saying, the reason we lost was because voters just didn't have the enthusiasm to vote. Why do you think they had no more enthusiasm? Because their enthusiasm was with
Bernie Sanders.
The most ridiculous power play by the DNC. Donna Brazile giving questions. They picked the wrong person. They put the wrong person into play. So don't come at me with,
Well, Bernie lost the nomination fair and square.
how is it fair and square when the DNC is actively pushing for Hillary Clinton? We don't need any more debates. Bernie should drop out. Bernie bros are sexist. Female Bernie supporters are just looking for boyfriends. Let's attack him on his religion. Somebody threw a chair. Lies, lies, lies. Emails. The WikiLeaks revelations.
Well, it was a hack, so let's not deal with that.
What?
Nein, 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 nein!
I'm sorry.
Das alles soll jetzt von diesen Judenschweinen noch ertragen!
Is the information true? I'm actually concerned whether or not the information...
Well, we don't want to talk about that. We will not comment. We will not address anything that has to do with hacked email.
Yeah, but ridiculous argument. Why would I support the DNC or their chosen one? Why? Jill Stein supporters did not spoil this election. The DNC spoiled it. Had all of Gary Johnson's voters not voted for Gary Johnson, do you think the majority of them would have voted for Hillary? The majority would have voted for Trump. He would have won even more states. All of the voters who were going to vote for Bernie lost interest or voted for Jill Stein. The true spoilers were all of the people who were going to vote for Hillary, but even in their lack of enthusiasm, chose not to vote. Gary Johnson voters did not impact Hillary's vote count. Bernie voters did not impact Hillary's vote count. Jill Stein voters did not impact Hillary's vote count. And certainly Trump's supporters, the vote count was impacted by Hillary supporters for Hillary who chose not to vote for her. Why didn't they? All the enthusiasm was gone. Bernie was gone. They saw the collusion by the DNC. They saw their chosen one. Media, the pundits, everyone was saying Hillary this, Hillary that.
The first woman president in United States history.
So even Hillary supporters saw it and said,
I'm not voting. What's the point?
And she lost. The bigger issue is, why weren't they enthused even against the threat of Trump? Well, because having a campaign based against somebody is not support for a candidate. We're against Trump, but not for Hillary. But if you're a dedicated Hillary supporter, why didn't you vote for her? Why did we have the lowest? Well, because they're not dedicated. Trump supporters went to rallies, a gazillion numbers, to support their candidate, despite the worldwide negation of Trump. That's dedication. That was fervor. That was passion. Bernie had people protesting, going to rallies, donating their money, people without money, people with some money, people with families and kids and jobs. They canvassed, marched, they phone banked, they did something. They got off their asses and they supported their candidate, just like Trump supporters did. Hillary supporters who did not vote. They're like, I'm with meh.
Here we go with the emails, and yeah, I don't want to vote for Trump. You know, she's going to win, but I'm not going to vote for her. Yeah, it's okay. Fine. She's fine. She'll be fine. I mean, she's not Trump. Fine.
That was the DNC message.
Yeah, Hillary. Yeah, we get it. She's the email and the stuff, and she's a hot mess. But I'm not going to vote for Trump. I'm not voting for that Jill Stein lady. Yeah, I'm not even inspired to vote at all.
Hillary supporters who did not vote for Hillary spoiled this election. Hillary supporters, where were they? They're like, well, Hillary has the money, DNC supporting her. Well, what do I need to do? Canvassing, attendance of rallies, everything. A fraction of the support that Trump supporters gave Trump and Bernie supporters gave Bernie. The people who spoiled this election were Hillary supporters who did not vote for her, Hillary's campaign, and the DNC. Had the DNC stayed out of this and let the people choose and then vote for their candidate of choice, well, we would still be feeling the burn. So a shout out to all the people who were there on the front line and remain on the front line. Ed Higgins, Susan Sarandon, Josh Fox, Tim Black, Debbie L., the sane progressive, Let the Madness Begin, Claudia Stauber, Habentalk, Shailene Woodley, Lee Camp from Redacted Tonight, and so many others like you. I'm with them. You factor all these things and you have to decide who you want to blame. Jill Stein supporters, Trump supporters. If you want to blame somebody, I'm with her.
One tribe.